Hello. Okay, I'm 2 minutes early, but that's okay. Ooh, I can't turn my head. I'm 2 minutes early, but that's okay. I will wait for people. See if anyone comes. Hello, I haven't been live in so long. I'm so excited. What a time. What a time. I'm uploading on a different app. I haven't been live in so long that I didn't even realize once I logged in, I realized I don't even have my StreamYard subscription anymore. I think I paused it for a few months. So now I just look like basic girl StreamYard. So I'll get that back. Hi, happy to see you again. Hello. Hi, thank you for joining. Lots to discuss. Should be interesting today. Hey, from Texas. Hi, thank you for joining. I can't move my head. My light has a really ugly glare in that mirror behind me. So I'll try to be more regular. Whatever, I always struggle finding a time that works for most people. Sometimes it's harder at night. People are home at night, but then you're competing with everyone else. And I don't want to take away time from everyone else. Hi. Hello. We'll get started in just a minute. How was everyone's weekend? Mine was, I wanted so bad to go outside. I've been on a hiking kick, and the weather, actually, I've been in Virginia. It hasn't been too hot here. And I finally wanted to go out hiking over the weekend. We had a freak rainstorm, so it rained like crazy, almost lost power. Thankfully, we didn't. And then it's been so thick and hot and humid. I like to think I can brave the elements pretty well, but it's been so humid. It hits you like a ton of bricks when you go outside. Those are the times when I miss California and Colorado. The dry heat, it hits a lot different. Also the winter in dryness hits different. It's a lot more bearable. Stunt Smith says, I watched what happened live on Donald Trump's YouTube stream. I still can't believe it. Yeah, that was crazy. That's what we were going to talk about today. There's so much to go into with that. I mean, yeah, I don't know about you all. The first time I saw it was actually, I think I logged on Twitter and I saw a bunch of reactions, and then I saw that someone wrote, Trump shot before I even watched the video. So I had no idea what even happened. And I remember I pulled out my phone and was sort of scrolling with my mom. We scrolled down a little bit, saw the video, and because it was on my phone and it was so small, I couldn't actually tell what was happening. I couldn't tell if he was ducking or if he went down. I thought he went down, and it was pretty scary. I mean, it's still extremely scary and tragic, but I really thought he went down at first, and then we saw that it just grazed his ear. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Hi, Clown Man. It's been so long. North Carolina humidity is absolutely ridiculous. I grew up in Georgia. I don't even know how I dealt with it. I think you acclimate. Maybe I was acclimated. I don't know. I remember the first time I went down to Miami. I believe it was in August, which is just probably one of the hottest months. This was a long time ago. I went down to Miami, and you're just sitting there dying, and you're seeing all the professionals in downtown Miami just going to work, and they're in three-piece suits while you're just dying. Like, are you guys just used to it? You freaks. All right, okay, let's start. So we all know what happened over the weekend. There was the assassination attempt on Trump, and before we even get started, there are so many questions about everything that happened. So let's watch the video and then we'll talk about kind of what's happening. So this is a whole video. Pretty sure we can play it on YouTube because it's already been going around. It's really not that graphic, but let's just watch the whole thing and then talk about how this went down, stories that are coming out, because the more that we know about the entire thing, the fishier it sounds. And it should be stated that the precedent has been set. Unfortunately, in my opinion, this is This is exactly where we've been headed for so long. And it started in 2016. You know, Hillary Clinton started calling Donald Trump supporters deplorables. And then it got even worse. Hold on 1 second. Back. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is where even a few weeks ago, I think it was Tucker Carlson that was giving an interview, and he said, you know, I don't know if they're going to try it, but what they would do is they would make a situation for it to be very easy for someone else. And they're saying that this guy, this is somebody that's 20 years old. This has been coming for a long time. Some even say around 10 years old. So this lone wolf, this person who we know donated to the Biden campaign. I think he donated about $15 to the Biden campaign. 20 years old. He was in a BlackRock commercial. I don't know what that's all about, but this was supposedly a lone actor, although other things have to be in place for someone to be a lone actor in a situation like this. For half of his life, he's heard the rhetoric. Donald Trump is the white supremacist. He's the dictator. They've compared him to Hitler and all of these things. They're saying if he's elected, it's going to be the end of democracy. So that is what this person has heard half of his life. Not only that, he's heard our own government say the biggest threat to this, the biggest terrorist threat to this country is white supremacy. And then Donald Trump is supposed to be the leader of this whole movement. So no wonder people are crazed. This is the rhetoric that we have been fed for almost 10 years now, which is what unfortunately leads up to stuff like this, that leads up to political violence and things like these. When you feel that your opponents are that evil, when they're being compared to one of the most genocidal men in our history. So where did we think it was going to end up? Anyway, let's look at what happened. Let's just play the video of what happened with Trump.
Are you ready?
Here, let me start it over.
Take a look at what happened. Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move.
Sorry about that. I don't know why I touched it.
Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to spare. Get ready. Spare, get ready. Are you ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? Let's move. Let's move. We're clear. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold on, your head is bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoe.
Watch out. Wait.
Okay, and that's the whole video. Now, I didn't save it here, but there's another video that shows a completely different angle. And what you'll see are the other snipers, and they clearly have their eye on the individual and they have him in line of sight, but they don't engage until he opens fire. So, a lot of people have questions about that. Why did they not engage sooner? We also have reports of people that say they saw the individual crawling on the rooftop about 2 minutes before anything happened. This is actually, oh, I didn't put it. Let me get this up here really quick. But I have a picture, but there are several videos of where you can see the person crawling. You can hear people saying there's someone on the roof. They're trying to warn cops. Now, whether or not cops could see the person or whether or not they could see the individual or if they saw and didn't do anything, I don't know. And those are the questions that a lot of people have at the moment. I do know that Republicans are talking about having a hearing and opening in an investigation into it. So that's good news. I hopefully they will find something, but I definitely think there needs to be an investigation. People have a lot of questions. Why was the perimeter not checked beforehand? Now, the Secret Service actually has come out and said that the local law enforcement was supposed to check the perimeter before, and obviously that wasn't done well enough. But another question people have, this was in direct line of sight with Donald Trump, and it was not that far away from him. Why was no one stationed on top of the building? Why did not they not have a drone out there? Why was someone's eyes not directly on that building? Now that has a lot of people saying, is this an inside job? We have no idea. But those are the questions being asked, and this is what a lot of people are upset about. Also, the competency behind the Secret Service. You saw some women that were significantly shorter for Donald Trump in charge of being in front of him and shielding him when clearly Trump was a whole head taller than some of these people. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of questions that people want answered. Hold on one second. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. I think my light dimmed a little bit. Um, 1 second. Just okay, that's a little bit. Now you can see me. My light was dimming. A little stinker of a light. So those are the questions that a lot of people have and hopefully will be answered. Let's see. Media is reporting that Secret Service knew the rooftop was a point. Oh, yeah, that's actually a good point, too. So, yes, the media is also reporting that they knew this was a very vulnerable point. So, again, questions. And it seems like the more we find out about everything, the more questions that we have. Sarah will return in Avengers. um, that being said, the reaction of Trump was pretty incredible. And we'll get to that. So we know that a 50-year-old man lost his life. It was the bullet that was intended for Donald Trump. The one that grazed Donald Trump hit a 50-year-old man. So his name was Corey. He was a father and a husband and actually passed away immediately, protecting his wife and daughter. So he unfortunately lost his life. And what's so crazy, this is a point that I was making earlier. It's not just Donald Trump that gets attacked, it's his supporters as well. And his supporters are caricatured, they're smeared in the media as also being these white supremacists, these horrible people, the MAGA Republicans. They're the ones that want to end democracy. And who is this man? Who is this man that was killed? He was a retired fire chief, a father, a husband. He went to church every Sunday and died protecting his wife. He died a hero, essentially, guarding them with his body. That's who that bullet hit. And this is also who the media tries to caricature. And what was really interesting, this is what Donald Trump said after. So he did an interview with the New York Post talking about what happened. And why did I make that so small? Now I can't even really see it. So he told the New York Post about his reaction. The energy coming from the people there in that moment, they just stood there. It's hard to describe what that felt like, but I knew the world was looking. I knew that history would judge this, and I knew I had to let them know that we are okay. Now, that's what's really interesting. He also talked to, what is his name? Is it Lawrence? He's with Fox News. So he talked to a Fox News journalist. And he said another thing to the Fox News journalist. The Fox News journalist was like, is there anything you want your supporters to know? And Donald Trump said, I just want them to know that I love them. That's all he said. And he mentioned it again. He said, you know, usually when something like this happens, when shots ring out and there's a large crowd, you'll typically see a stampede with the crowd, but you didn't see that with this crowd. Everyone stayed and everyone stood there. And he basically fed off that energy as well. And that's when you saw him stand up and do the fist. And is that not like one of the most iconic photos that you've ever seen in your life? I mean, that is crazy. I think I tweeted about this earlier, but we're not used to seeing this kind of physical strength and resilience from our political leaders. We should, but we're not used to seeing this. So it's nice to see, especially since we've had so much weakness from the Biden administration, who can't even walk up a flight of stairs. He has to take the short stairs to get on Air Force One. I'm laughing, but it's actually really not funny at all. It's too bad YouTube won't let you show the videos from the crowd. Well, I will say one of the videos that I have, it's TMZ, and TMZ is really sensitive about that sometimes when you show their... I screenshotted it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find one. I screenshotted one of the images. Yeah, I don't know. TMZ sometimes is really sensitive when you share their stuff. I don't know what you can see. Just give it a second to load and then I'll put it up. But it's a screenshot from one of the videos. This one was released by TMZ, and this is from somebody. It almost looks like they're a little bit outside of the venue, and they see the guy crawling on the roof and they're yelling, there's someone on the roof, there's someone on the roof. And whether it was intentional or not, whether it was an inside job or not, this was clear, really gross, really alarming negligence and incompetence on so many different levels. This should not have been a hard area to secure at all. There were not that many buildings around. It's still processing, so I'll just move on a little bit, and then as soon as that processes, we can look at it. And just to go back in time, I don't know if you guys remember, and another point that I was making about the crowd not running anywhere but staying there, I think there's a certain unity. Not saying that I'm not trying to paint Trump as some sort of martyr or holier than thou, or he's a flawed human being just like anyone else. He just happens to be that person who's taking on this role and cares at the moment. But I do think that there is a bond that people feel with Donald Trump, and I think it is in part, I think it's for a lot of different reasons, but it's in part because of that persecution that has not only been targeted towards Donald Trump, but has also been targeted towards his supporters. Just saying that you voted for Donald Trump, just wearing a MAGA hat or a MAGA shirt, or just attending a rally can set you up for persecution. It can get you yelled at. It can get you attacked in some instances. It can cause you to lose friends, to lose family members. I don't know if you all remember, it was in 2020. This was after like the summer of love, before January 6th. There was something, I can't remember if it was in December of of 2020 or November of 2020, but it was around that time. And it was called the Million MAGA March, where tons of people went to Washington, D.C., and they marched in support of Donald Trump and that whole movement. Well, a lot of attendees, once they were leaving this event, I'm talking like elderly women, children, dads with their young children, they were being followed, harassed, yelled at, had things thrown at them, and in some instances, physically attacked in the street for merely leaving the venue and getting to either their hotels or their transportation. Those videos, a lot of them aren't even online anymore, but I remember seeing that footage of people for merely just attending this event and supporting Donald Trump being physically attacked upon leaving the event. This is Jorge Ventura. So he's a journalist. He was covering a lot of the riots during the whole Summer of Love, and he was actually there covering some of the events after the Million MAGA March in Washington, D.C. on 2020. And this is him just talking about what he experienced there.
Just shocked me because it was the
And I'm saying this is the type of persecution that so just merely supporting Trump has gotten a lot of people.
Not the worst you've ever seen.
Well, it's definitely not the worst, but it was the one that I think kind of just shocked me because it was the first time that I've seen actually like children involved in just like elderly couples. So it was
Maybe the worst.
Yeah, so I think for that was a shocker, and I think it'd be good to talk about it now. But seeing just like that little girl crying and holding on to her sister, then her dad pushed onto her, and she was just in fear for her life. You have all these grown adults screaming at them, and to be honest, Tim, that moment took like a mental toll on me, because right after that situation happened, then that brutal knockout happened. Seeing the guy get stomped out, then seeing the elderly couple get threatened. For me as a reporter, I don't know, it never really happened to me where it just was like it was almost like enough was enough. I was at a point where it's like I don't even know how much more I could show my audience anymore of
Yeah, so that was him just experiencing that. And I remember feeling that same way just looking at the footage. And it wasn't that it was the most violence that I'd ever seen at these at things like this. I had been watching the riots all summer, as many of you have as well. But what was so alarming about it were seeing the people that they were targeting. They were going after elderly, women with strollers, men with like little children, adults like following, yelling, sometimes throwing things at them. It was really, really disturbing to watch. I remember watching that and just kind of shaking. I cannot believe this is the United States, and this is where our political discourse is at the moment. But to me, this is completely at the hands of the Democrats, who are painting Trump and Republicans as people that want to just end democracy and do all these horrible things and take us back 50 years. It's the media who slanders Trump, takes things that he's saying completely out of context, trying to make something that's not true. It's all of them that have escalated our political discourse to the point that it's gotten this bad. When I was in college, I was the bleeding heart liberal. I had a good friend who was a staunch Republican. He was a poli-sci major, and we used to get into political debates all the time, like over beers, and it would get passionate, but it was never, nobody's feelings got hurt. Nobody left angry, and we were still friends at the end of the day and could still hang out and do things together. Now you have families, like actual families, that are being ripped apart because of all of this bull crap. Here's this load. Okay. So this, you can't really see it that well, but this was a still actually from a video from a bystander, and they can see him crawling on the roof, and they're all standing sort of kind of parallel to where the roof is, and they're yelling, "There's someone on the roof, there's someone on the roof." So again, just questions. More and more questions. The more we know, the more questions we have. But all of that being said, I mean, the miracle in all of it is that it grazed his ear. And what we know now, so Trump did this interview with the New York Post, which is where we got that quote from him about the crowd and the energy that he was feeling. And what he also said was, so at the time when this happened, this bullet, if it would have been just a centimeter closer, a centimeter in a different direction, Trump might not be here today. We would be having a very, very different week, a very, very different country. And he's attributing that to tilting his head a little bit. He said that he was actually reading, and if you look at the footage, you can see there is this huge chart on his giant teleprompter, and you could see it was a chart on illegal immigration and our open borders. He tilted his head slightly to read that chart, and that head tilt is what caused the bullet to just graze and not hit him fatally. So also what that means is that sniper probably had it all lined up, and then what happened is the unexpected. He tilted his head just a tiny bit, just a little bit, which is pretty incredible that that happened. Well, that's what's really interesting, and that's what Tucker Carlson was saying. Just I think it was just a few weeks ago. Actually, he was saying that what they would do is just create a situation to make it easy for someone, and really that's what they've been doing for the past 10 years by all of the slandering that they've been doing. But there is some better news for Trump. I was like, I don't know if Trump is having the worst week or the best week, but here's some good news for Trump. So some good news is we actually found out the DOJ this is breaking, but I feel like everyone knows the news before I do, so maybe it's not breaking. So the DOJ has actually decided to completely dismiss the classification, the documents. Why can't I speak right now? So the DOJ has decided to completely dismiss the classified documents case against Donald Trump. And the reasoning for this is because they're essentially saying that the appointment of Jack Smith is inappropriate, so it's dismissed. So now his classified documents case is dismissed. He's alive, so that's good. All good things. And he has also announced that he's going to be announcing his VP today. So that's very cool. Who do you think his VP will be? So the top two people that I'm seeing for Donald Trump's VP are JD Vance or Vivek. Do you like either of those? JD Vance or Vivek? Do you like those two options? Okay, I see JD Vance. And if so, which one would you prefer? I can't decide. I see one JD Vance. Bill Malusian, he's at the RNC right now, says, oh, Vic Swami. See, I don't know. It's split. I'm split too. I don't know which one I want. I'm surprised Ron DeSantis is not in the running. I don't think Ron DeSantis should have ever run for president. I think that was such a huge mistake on his part. I love him as a governor. He's great. I want Tucker Carlson. What if it was Tucker Carlson? That would be a curveball. I would love to have a Tucker Carlson too. Yeah, but I didn't like presidential candidate DeSantis. I like Governor DeSantis. I don't like candidate DeSantis. That was a weird DeSantis. Maybe he just had like bad people in his ear. I don't know. But I could totally see him running again and hopefully having a much more successful campaign. Hopefully he learned from his mistakes. I would love to see him run in 2028. And again, what I would hope is that he maybe learned from the mistakes of his 2024 his 2024 attempt. And it was also announced. So what was cool about Trump too is he announced, I was going to take a few days off after what happened, and he said, nope, not going to do it. Decided going back to fly to Milwaukee to the RNC and giving a speech. He also announced that he's completely going to be rewriting his speech, and it will be a speech of unity, which is good because I think that's what we need. And speaking of speeches of unity, that's kind of where I want to go with this too. I think that, what I'm really proud of is I have seen a lot of anger from a lot of Republicans. And it's rightful anger, but what I'm proud of is I haven't, and I think it's okay to be angry, and I think everyone has a reason to be angry, especially because not just the attempt on Donald Trump, a man tragically lost his life. A supporter of Trump tragically lost his life. And I was just reading that another man who was shot was a 57-year-old, and I think he took it somewhere in the liver, is what I'm thinking. And I read that he's in critical condition, fighting for his life. And there was another person. These people are just good Americans who wanted to go have a great time and celebrate a cause and a candidate that they believe in. And it was supposed to be a wonderful day. And if you've ever been to a Trump rally, they're just big love fests. They're just the best people that go, no matter what you think about Trump. The rallies are just, it's like a big love fest. So it's very angering. But what I'm proud of is I haven't seen like the vengeful anger, the festering, bitter anger, but I've seen the righteous anger that we're going to fight the right way. We're going to look for justice the right way. We're going to take our country back and stand up in the face of all of this evil the right way. Because I sometimes I think about, okay, there used to be that saying, what would Jesus do? So sometimes I think, okay, what would the devil do? What the devil would do is he would want you to give up. He would want you to think it's hopeless. He would want you to think that everything's hopeless. He would want you to get bitter. He would want you to get revengeful. He would want you to feel vengeful, and he would want you to take it out in a bad way. So don't follow the devil. Follow follow what a Jesus would do, what someone like that would do. Follow the path of hope and be that hope, exude that hope for everyone else. And even in the face of pure evil, stand there righteously with your hope and with your faith, because that's what's going to defeat this. If you get vengeful, if you get angry, if you get bitter, that will only perpetuate this division and violence. Now, with that being said, this is actually really cool, and I didn't know about this. Thank you, Glenn Beck. He's the one that he's so good with history, Glenn Beck. I learn so much from him sometimes. That's why I like watching his show, because he depresses me like crazy because the world is always ending according to him, but he knows history really well, and I feel like I always learn something about history when I watch him. So he was talking about, actually on his show today, he might be showing this speech. So he actually went back to 1968. So on April 4th, 1968, that was the day that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And RFK at the time, not RFK Jr., the big RFK, he was wanting to run for to be the president. So he was hoping to be the Democratic nominee and actually had a rally scheduled in Indianapolis. While he was on his way to attend this rally, which, by the way, this rally was it was in a big Black community. This was a poor community, Black community. So that's where he was giving this speech and was doing this rally. And he got the news that Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. When he landed, he got the news that Martin Luther King Jr., in fact, did not survive and he was dead. And now, keep in mind, this is 1968. This is back in the day when information didn't flow as fast as it does now. So it was going to be on him to deliver that horrible news to the audience that he was talking to that day. Now, what also happened back then was, because of what happened with MLK, as you can imagine, race riots broke out all across the United States in over 100 cities. They were really violent. One of the only or the only major city that race riots did not break out was in Indianapolis, and a lot of people attribute it to this speech. This speech by RFK was completely improvised, and it's said to be one of the the highlights of speeches within our history, one of the most respected speeches. And obviously it was impactful, and it was a speech that was based on unity, and it was impactful. You can tell because they didn't have any riots break out in Indianapolis, and it was one of the only cities. So if you don't mind, let's watch it together. It's about 5 minutes. It's very much worth the watch, and I think it's really powerful to watch this being a moment in history, because we are in a moment of history today, whether we realize it or not. But we're in a huge moment of history, and Trump is getting ready to give his unifying speech at the RNC, and this is one of the unifying speeches that went down in history. So it's very much worth it.
Lines, please. I have some very sad news for all of you, and that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis. Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it's perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black, considering the evidence evidently is that there were white people who were responsible, you can be filled with bitterness and with hatred and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country, in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks and white amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that has spread across our land, with an effort to understand compassion and love. For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and mistrust of the injustice of such an act against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed, but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States. We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult times. My favorite poem, my favorite poet was Aeschylus. And he once wrote, "Even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God." What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or whether they be black. We can do well in this country. We will have difficult times. We've had difficult times in the past, but we will have difficult times in the future. It is not the end of violence. It is not the end of lawlessness, and it's not the end of disorder. But the vast majority of white people and the vast majority of black people in this country want to live together, want to improve the quality of our life, and want justice for all human beings that abide in our land. And what dedicate ourselves to what the Greeks wrote so many years ago, to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. Let us dedicate ourselves to that and say a prayer for our country and for our people.
It is, isn't it crazy though to watch that and then just think about what we've been going through the past several years, how we've almost gone, we moved forward from that and then we went backward again. And you think about all of the riots that broke out, very similar to George Floyd over the summer of 2020. The race issues were going down. Yeah, I remember being in high school. I went to high school in Atlanta, or the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, Gwinnett County. And at the time, Gwinnett County was the fastest growing county in the United States. I actually went to I think it was the biggest middle school for maybe like 2 years. Something was built somewhere else that took it off the map. But my middle school was the biggest middle school in the United States for a little bit. And then my high school had 4,000 kids at it. And it was such a diverse place because it was such a booming county, because it was growing so much. People were moving from all over the place to come there for jobs. And so that caused, it was just a melting pot. And it's so funny because people also caricature the South. They think because you're from the South, you're backwards and you don't know anything and you have no culture. But my high school is so big. I always said from K all the way through 12, I had all 7 continents represented in all of my classrooms. It was so diverse. All of my friends were really diverse, every background, every race, every culture. And because we were from the South, obviously when we go on field trips and we're learning about history, a lot of that revolved around slavery and the Civil War. So we were talking about these issues while being all together in this melting pot, and race was never an issue. We all just got along. And it was Georgia. I remember being in high school and we had about like 4 guys, these skinny little white dudes, and they would drive around and, they were kind of redneck dudes and they had like a Confederate flag on their truck or whatever. But guess what? Nobody cared because maybe they had dumb ideas, but guess what? They weren't hurting anyone. They weren't like, nobody cared. People left them alone. Nobody cared. And that's the thing. Everyone was just chill because they weren't hurting anyone. And they were just these scrawny little nerdy dudes. Who cares? And that's just how it was. I feel like we were so mature and we were so past this stuff. And our teachers were mature and objective and didn't try to indoctrinate everyone, and to just think about where we were then and now where we are. It's just wild. And also to hear this narrative from Democrats, they don't teach slavery in the schools. Conservatives don't want them to teach slavery in the schools. That is so much about what we learned about because of simply where we were from and the history that's all around us. Even where I'm living right now, I'm on a Civil War battlefield where people fought. So that history is all around us. It's hard not to be aware of it. It's probably people from other parts of the U.S. that are more ignorant on Civil War and things like that than people in the South, just because of the geography of the area and what's around there and the history of your area. It's wild to me. And it's sad to see how backwards we've come. And now here we are again. And there was, for a different reason, but there was an assassination attempt. And now we're going to have another speech. What's incredible about that speech too about RFK is I said it in the beginning, but that was completely improvised, which I think is really cool. Wait, what did you say? Had some penguins from Antarctica in that graduating class, did you? Penguins. Was that a joke that just went over my head? Oh, I see what you're saying, because I said all 7 continents. Okay, maybe we didn't have anyone from Antarctica, okay? Maybe we did. Maybe we did have a penguin. You don't know. You don't know. I had penguins in my class. Okay, all 6 continents that inhabit people. But we did. It was a huge melting pot of people. It was such a melting pot that I remember growing up, because that was all I knew in that area. I thought that people that lived in the same area as like their aunts or uncles or grandparents, I thought that was incestuous, because I wasn't used to that. Everyone I knew, like their family lived in a different state, because their parents all moved there for new job opportunities. So it was interesting. Penguins. Busted. People bashing JD Vance, only showing they don't know the land. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to see people online. It's back and forth, but I think the 2 main ones are JD Vance and Vivek. It's funny too. I'm sure you all saw I'm sure you saw how CNN and other news outlets were covering what happened to Trump at first. And by the way, I'm sure you're probably guaranteed not to see the mainstream media cover all of the people who saw stuff prior to them taking any action. You might not see that, although maybe if Republicans push hard enough, you will. But the headline with CNN reporting on an assassination attempt with a Trump was something along the lines of Trump fell down. And that's how the mainstream media, they were really, really trying to downplay. One said, Trump gets hurt at rally. So it's almost like they were trying to make it seem like he fell down on his own and hurt himself because he fell, which is just ridiculous. All right. Anyway, you all, I think that's everything we have right now on that subject. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Why did it take so long? Why was the perimeter not secured? Why, is there incompetence that we need to look at within the Secret Service? What's going on there? Trump is going to be at the RNC. He is redoing his entire speech. He's going to be announcing his VP pick. It's looking like people think the main people are Vivek or JD Vance. Maybe it'll be a wild card. Who knows? But anyway, that's all we have. So we'll chat later when there's a VP pick. So I'll be really interested to see who that's going to be. Hopefully it's someone tough. All right. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later. Have a really, really good night, and see ya. Banana Republic. Yeah, Banana Republic. Save democracy, yet try to like get rid of the guy who the majority. It's funny because we're actually not a democracy, but if we were, what is a democracy? A democracy is a government for the people, by the people. And here you have the most popular candidate by the people, and they're saying we need to get rid of him to save democracy. It don't make sense. Yes, the security detail, super sus. Yeah. Okay, bye you all. I will see you hopefully very soon. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. Republic. Yes, we're a republic.